No, you're fine. All right. Good evening, everybody. We'll start off the finance meeting. Everybody good, Aaron? Goody? Ready to start? All right. So anybody signed up for public comment?
No one has signed up.
Anybody here for public comment for finance? Okay. Approval of the minutes from previous meeting. You guys all good? All right. We have a lot on the consideration of accounts, including 18,000 for Kids Discover the Trail, other IPI donations. We just had a brief meeting because it looks like we are looking at the last distribution of the My Brother's Keepers program funds, which ends 6/30/2023. And it's definitely bittersweet because the back end business workings of that money is difficult. However, it's great services to young people. So we'll have to try to get an update and something on that moving forward. We got the treasurer's report and 410 resolution to authorize the board president, superintendent to enter into health and welfare agreements with neighboring districts. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, so there are two items on here and they look almost identical. So 410 is authorizing us to enter into agreements with neighboring districts to receive services, health and welfare services for our students in their districts. Emily, is that mostly private schools in their districts? So it's our Ithaca students going to schools within their district. They provide health and welfare services to those students and then they bill us for them. 411 is their students in our school, our private schools within the district. We provide health and welfare services to those students and then we bill them. So this authorizes us to enter into those agreements and sign them and be billed and then bill.
I just ask a general question, what is an example of one of those benefits
Sure.
going in either direction?
Should be like physicals and
So this is all in accordance with New York State education law, that schools can bill each other for the health and welfare services, and it would include things like nursing services, speech. I believe social worker is part of that.
yeah.
Any
Related
kind of
services.
related services that would help provide, and it's a calculation done where we take all those costs or other districts take all their costs. And they come up with a per pupil cost for these types of services. And then for any kids that go to these, the private schools have to be certified with the state, so it can't just be. I mean, there might be some small private schools, some Montessori schools. We have the big one. There might be smaller ones that are not part of this, but they have to be certified with the state, and then we do the per pupil cost. We get the enrollments from all those schools for all the kids that attend, and we're able to apply those costs for those students and then vice versa, other schools. But we have ESA Montessori, the Waldorf school, and we also are able to charge for new routes as well.
Mhm.
Did that answer your question, Eldred?
I think so, yes. So it's those kids in those specialized schools in our district who need services, which we send somebody there to provide.
Yes, is the home district. It's the public school district.
Right.
It's our responsibility to provide those types of services for these particular private schools.
And why is this a new thing?
No, it's not.
It's
new.
just this year.
We've been
like every
doing
year.
it. I don't know if it's always been presented to be approved for signature, but it should.
Yeah, this has been happening for years.
Yeah.
But we're bringing it to you for the first time for transparency purposes.
Um, anything else that I'm missing? You've got the treasurer's report, which is food service. Anything else, Amanda, is noteworthy? Yes. You good, Aaron?
Yeah.
All right. And we have a guest in-house, our very own Deb Jordan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Deb Jordan. I'm the educator for inclusion for the early childhood program. I'm really grateful to be here. I know there's a time constraint, so I'll try not to take too long, but I really excited to brag about our program a little bit. So I wanted to start with some reminders first about why we do the work we do in early childhood education. The ICSD Early Childhood Program sets the foundation for future ICSD learners. We're teaching our youngest learners what school means. They learn how school makes them feel. We're the first bridge for collaboration and connection between families and schools. We set the tone for school. We model really effective family engagement practices. We recognize that we directly influence adult beliefs about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And our educators are passionate and take very seriously that they're helping children learn to be kind, compassionate citizens. So finally, there's a study that I linked here, and I won't go into detail about it, but from the Harvard School of Education that notes the benefits of early childhood education does not plateau by third grade. There's many studies that have noted that. This takes a deeper dive, and they note that it reaches beyond high school and beyond. Children who participate in early childhood education have less referrals for special education and have higher graduation rates. So there's a link to that study there if you want to look at it. Moving forward, I'm starting the presentation with this great quote from Dina Simmons: "Stories have the power to connect, to heal, and empower us." The reason I have included this quote is because stories really serve as a foundation for our program, for our vision and our philosophy. You'll notice that as I'm speaking, I'm going to reference stories throughout the presentation. So, including, I have some anecdotal stories from families. Again, I won't go into a lot of detail with this, but this is from a survey that families received at the end of last year. And it has some quick anecdotes from families. I'll just note a couple notable comments. Teacher communication in our program goes above and beyond. They obviously know a tremendous amount about childhood development. Staff was able to provide good suggestions on resources that we could utilize that helps my child's learning. So there were many more comments like this, and if you want access to the survey, I can certainly give that to you. So we were very proud when we received that. So as I noted last year, the principles of Learning Forward align really perfectly with our goals in our program and the work that we're doing. So I'm going to review a few of those things with you all today. Students and families as partners and leaders. So I included families in this because they really are our partners. And a big part of this in preschool is done through storytelling. So we're collecting stories from our kids, from our families. It's one of the most powerful family engagement tools that we have. And our teachers do that in the beginning of the year with what we're calling now welcome visits. We rebranded. We're not calling them home visits anymore because home visits for some families has a really negative connotation. So we're rebranding those as home visits or welcome visits, excuse me. We're starting early, building relationships with early intervention families. We have families that have children receiving support through the health department, birth to 3, who then transition to our program. So I have frequent communication with those families. I offer them tours of our buildings, of our classrooms. So we're starting those relationships early. We also started something this year called Family Learning Communities. In collaboration with our Head Start family partners in our program. We have bi-monthly professional development sessions for families. We survey families and ask them, you know, what are you needing? What are you needing support with? And then we try to gear that professional development towards what they're asking for. Those have been mostly virtual this year, but, and then we have some we have an end of the year family dinner coming up on Friday, so things like that. And I think what I'm really excited to share is that we're going to be piloting a new progress monitoring tool, and it's called Learning Stories. So again, it's stories in it. Some of our classrooms and some of our UPK sites are going to be piloting this. It's an assessment approach that has been used throughout New Zealand, and it's now being piloted in some of the UPK sites in New York City, in California, at the University of Michigan, early childhood centers. And I learned about it through NACI, and just took a deeper dive, met with lots of people, talked with people in New York City about it. And we've decided that we want to, some of us want to pilot that. So it's an assessment approach that's a form of observation and documentation written in a story format. The student is the star of the story. Parents, teachers will write mini stories about their students. Parents can then also add to the story. And then at progress monitoring periods, it's turned into a portfolio that's presented to the family. It's aligned with learning standards, and we're really excited to give it a try. So we'll let you know next year how that goes. We really just wanting to move away from like a checklist system. This just seems to be more in line with our philosophy of our program. Educator identity work is something that is ongoing for us. We're continually working as educators on self-reflection, processing our own stories and the stories of others. For me, as the leader of the program, it was important to me that our teachers hear the stories of the writers who wrote many of the books in our classrooms. So this year we welcomed Nancy Johnson James, and she wrote the book Brown, The Many Shades of Love. So she came and talked with us virtually. We have some more authors coming next year, author and illustrator coming next year. So that's exciting. And I'm also working closely with Caitlin Bram at Fall Creek on the family engagement micro-credential strand 2. So we're in the process of developing a project from that work that we're doing with that. Anti-racist curriculum for all is definitely a priority in the early childhood program. We know that a child's early experiences shape what they imagine to be possible. Our book project is a big part of this. It's called Anti-Racism, Understanding and Activism in Early Childhood. And this was led by Sarah Smith, one of our amazing early childhood educators, along with some other educators in our program. It's a very powerful project. This initiative provides our classrooms with diverse books and donated by Children's Reading Connection that serve as windows and mirrors and sliding glass doors, ensuring that our students see themselves and others in the stories and the pictures that they see. So there's a link there describing the project in more detail, as well as an infographic detailing the importance of talking with children about race at a young age. It's a really interesting graphic, so I suggest you look at it. It's really important. Structures of support for students and families. I'll just quickly highlight a couple things. We offer summer programming. This year we have a program at Fall Creek called Songs and Stories. There's a link there that will give you a schedule of activities that we're doing. We have anchor texts that the students will be reading with their teachers. We have some storytellers coming and some performers, so that'll be great. And amazing staff in the summer too. And then in addition to the family learning community events that we hold during the year, this year we held an event about the transition to kindergarten. So myself and our school psychologist, Stephanie Baker, and I did a presentation for families on that transition, because it's a big transition and people are worried and scared about it. So we felt like that was important to do. We have lots of community partners, of course, our UPK sites, the Child Development Council, the Health Department, but we also have others. The Johnson Museum has been an amazing partner with us. the cooperative extension, that picture with the food group friend, that person from the cooperative extension named Tina came. And as part of one of our family learning communities, she did a cooking presentation, and all the families who signed up for the presentation received the food that she was cooking with, and everybody got to cook together online. So that was really cool. And John and Cal come back, and we've had visits in the community to bakeries, and the Caroline Early Childhood Program had the Caroline Highway Department come. So we've had all kinds of fun things happen in our program this year. So one of my priorities is supporting our amazing educators. And part of our UPK grant requires us to offer monthly professional development. So our educators can join those sessions. Those are once a month. We also have started this year an RTI structure, I would say. We're calling it collaborative problem solving. And we're using it within ICSD, and we're starting to figure out ways to utilize that structure within our community sites as well. I provide weekly consistent communication with the staff just to keep them updated on things going on in the community and within the program. And the new educator community of practice, I'm partnering with Eileen Granger on supporting some of our new educators in the school district. So who do we serve? We serve 3- and 4-year-olds with disabilities receiving special education programming. SEIT is special education itinerant teacher support, and SCIS is our special class in an integrated setting. Those services are on our continuum of special education in preschool. Both with SEIT and SCIS, children are receiving specially designed instruction. With SEIT, it's usually in a one-to-one situation, like in a daycare or in one of our ICSD classrooms. Usually the sessions are 60 minutes. In a SCIS classroom, children are receiving specially designed instruction throughout the day. They're 5-hour programs. We also serve 4-year-old children within the Ithaca City School District through a lottery system. And of course, any preschool child within the Ithaca City School District who receives related services as well. And then per our Head Start grant, we prioritize 4-year-olds who are at or below the poverty guidelines. And I can talk more about that when we get to the funding sources. So I'm going to give an overview, and then also feel free to.
We've got time.
Oh, good. Okay. I was trying to rush through a little bit.
No,
Any questions so far about like sort of programming stuff? And then I'll go into this slide.
Yes, thank you, Deb.
Sure.
You mentioned 5-hour programs. That's for the 3-year-old and the 4-year-old,
Oh, say that again.
5 hours.
Oh,
It's a day
so
long.
for the special class integrated classrooms, that's a 5-hour program led by a special education teacher. And children as young as 2 years, 10 months actually can be a part of that program, children who transition from early intervention. So we have quite young children in that program. Our typical universal pre-K slots are for 4-year-olds. So it's just the kids who are slated for the special class integrated classrooms who can be younger. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
First off, it might be my internet connection or something, but I was not able to access the infograph. So
Oh,
if you can
okay.
Email it to board members.
Sure, I sure can. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you talk about integrated, okay, in the disability world, that word is just not great. So are we looking to move towards an inclusive preschool setting?
Yeah, so that's kind of what the state calls it, but yes, they are inclusive classrooms. So the state ratio is 6 students with more significant needs and 6 without. So it is an inclusive classroom.
Okay, so it's kind of with the lottery system, it's almost reverse inclusion because you're bringing non-disabled students into the classroom.
Yeah.
We're like peer modeling essentially.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And then I'm really intrigued by the learning stories.
Yeah.
It's like a natural bridge to self-determination, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you by chance utilize that as students transition to kindergarten as a way to like inform teachers of who they
Yeah,
are?
I mean, we haven't started it yet, so we definitely will do that. We're gonna be using, I didn't mention that the platform that we're gonna be using to do learning stories is called Educa. And we're gonna be getting training from the folks at Educa in August. So yeah, I'm excited and I'm hoping, it'll be something that kindergarten would be interested into in the future. Yeah,
Awesome, thank you.
yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Hey Deb, can you just share for the folks who may not know all the different ways a child can be so we can decide that a child needs early intervention services?
Sure, yeah. So if a child is coming from early intervention from the health department, birth to 3, typically we'll hold what we call a transition meeting, just like we do from pre-K to K, or from 5th grade to 6th grade, or from 8th grade to high school. We hold a transition meeting because I sort of tell parents it's like different umbrellas. So early intervention is one umbrella, one system that has their own criteria for eligibility. Preschool has its own criteria for eligibility, and school age they use 13 classifications to determine eligibility. We look at the extent of a child's delay. So like 2 standard deviations below the mean, or if a child is a year delay on testing. We also look at whether children are able to access age appropriate activities too. So those are our 2 prongs of eligibility. So kids coming from early intervention will hold a transition meeting. We'll look at those criteria to determine eligibility. If a parent in the community is referring their child, they're concerned about, they have a speech delay or something like that, they'll call our office and ask for an evaluation, and we help them get set up to have an evaluation. It's kind of a long process, and then we look at those evaluations at a CPSE meeting, Committee on Preschool Special Education meeting, to determine eligibility based on the extent of the delay. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's not common knowledge for everyone.
And then, sorry, Eldred now I have a question, because it just made me think.
Sure, yeah.
With as transient as Ithaca is, what do we do? Every state is different. EI is different, like like in Virginia at 2, you can enter, right?
Sure,
So
yeah.
how do we support families moving here from other states and other countries to understand this, but also know that they can enroll and
Yeah.
like, is there a system for that?
Yeah, so so I work really closely with the health department. So sometimes what will happen is I'll have what we call a transition conference, which is not a CPSE meeting. It's just an informal meeting with families to sort of like explain the whole process. In early intervention, families are assigned a service coordinator, and that person's in charge of sort of helping them navigate the system. Then when they age out of that, then they call me, and then I help them sort of navigate through that system. One of my hopes and goals is to collaborate more with doctors' offices too, because I feel like that's a place where maybe, we need to get more information about what our supports and services are. But I think to answer your question, I mean, I work really closely with the health department on partnering with them to support families, because it is a really confusing process. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Mhm.
Just wanted to also add that the curriculum committee has made a point to go see some of these CIS classrooms over the last couple of years. And to Aaron's point, it's pretty amazing. You can't, this is going to sound weird. However, there used to be a time where you could walk in the classroom and you would be able to identify which kid is which.
Mhm.
I'm happy to say that I could not.
Yeah.
Some
yeah.
people obviously probably still could,
Mhm.
especially Fall Creek summer program the last couple of years.
Yeah.
That's just been astounding how those kids are rolling together.
Oh, I know.
Got some of our best teachers down there working.
Oh.
It's really something to applaud. And for years, again, to Aaron's second point, we have been trying to solidify that bridge between pre-K and K.
Mhm.
Right, all the talk about how much information we lose, how much energy we lose, how much love is lost because school age, the beginning with K, just takes on a whole different universe, and we just forget everything we learned in pre-K.
Mhm.
And it sounds like at least you could probably explain 10 hours how we bridge that gap.
Yeah.
But that was very critical in this early childhood development group we put together to try and make steps towards that.
Mhm. And I think the current educators for inclusion are interested in partnering more with that too. So that's That's really good.
I have a
Yeah,
question.
sure.
So your numbers for enrollment was 143.
Yeah.
What is your projection for
Yeah,
next year?
yeah. So we want to get back to the 158 to 170 range. That's what we want to get back to. The enrollment's low. And I want to say, I meet with the UPK site directors every month. And their preschool numbers are low too. They have wait lists. I know IC3 Bright Horizons had told me this year, they have wait lists for infants and toddlers and not for preschoolers. So it's interesting. Numbers are low, but you can see in 2020, 2021, we were at 73. That was during COVID, right? We had at that time only 9 classrooms, 3 virtual, 6 in person. Last year we had our 12 classrooms again. But people were still tentative last year. Some people still didn't really want to send their kids to school, young children. This year, the enrollment's up a little bit. That number is ICSD only. That's not including our community sites. The SCIS classrooms, the special class and integrated setting classrooms, the maximum is 12. So we're starting to get there. We've had a lot of early intervention students transition in just in the last couple months. So that's been nice for our classrooms. So yeah, we're working on that. So numbers are fluid. They're always changing. It could change again next week. I could present this and it could look a little different. So the UPK grant requires us to partner with our community sites, and you can see them listed there. IC3, UCNS, the Downtown Children's Center, Bright Horizons, Coddington, CNS. I'm in conversation with the Racker Center. They're hoping to join us as a UPK site next year, which I'm really excited about. And so I just want to move on to supporting those community sites. So with our UPK grant, 12% of our funding goes to those community-based sites. And I just want to review a little bit how we support them. We have related service providers that offer annual screenings for the UPK sites. Those include pre-academic screenings, like assessing different areas of development, language, cognitive, motor, social, emotional skills. We offer monthly professional development, as I mentioned earlier, working to align programming and assessments. So as I mentioned, some of the sites are going to participate in the PD for learning stories, and they're going to move to that as well. And I have site director meetings, and then I have regular check-ins with site directors too. Sometimes people call and say, I'm really struggling with this student, and do you have any ideas? Can you suggest some interventions? Can someone come observe and help? And so we do our best to do that with the staffing that we have. Okay. Any questions about the community sites? Just I want to touch a little bit more on preschool special education. I've already talked a little bit about it. I told you that children in early intervention can transition to us. And the county funds preschool special education services in New York State, and CPSE, or Committee on Preschool Special Education, makes the recommendations for programs and services. And then, as I noted, we are an approved evaluation agency. As such, we can be chosen by any family throughout the county to do a preschool-based evaluation. This year, Jen Gondek and I collaborated together on providing a PD for families on the transition from Committee on Preschool Special Education to the Committee on Special Education. So that was really positive. And I think it was really great for them. She's so great and so reassuring. And it was really great for parents to meet her and hear from her about the process. So I hope that we can continue to do that in the future as well. Okay, any questions? Yeah, and then I'll go on to funding. Yeah.
We often don't talk about it, but could you just walk us through how play-based learning is used in this setting from a professional standpoint? I know before I knew what I was talking about, I heard play and thought jacks and blocks.
So we do try to, and I think learning stories is really going to help with that, because we do try to educate our families on what children are learning through their play. Our teachers are really intentional with how they're setting up play. They're looking at kids' interests. They're looking at what kids are gravitating to in the classroom. And what their needs are, and then setting up the classroom in a way that supports their learning through play, because we know young children really do learn best through play. So they're working on cognitive skills, on all kinds of math skills as they're building in the block area. They're working on motor skills as they're using Play-Doh. And so we're trying to educate our families more on that, because sometimes people are asking us, you know, what are they really learning, right? And so we know that children at a young age really don't do well with worksheets, right? They learn through being active, they learn through experimenting. And so I think, you know, our educators, we have one of our educators here. I think we do prioritize that in our program.
Tell my colleagues, some of our better teachers wish we would continue that through at least second grade.
Yeah.
And
think we should do
that's
more.
not what we do at present. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying.
We can do, maybe preschool can do some PD around that a little bit more too. Yeah. Okay there. I think I'll just jump ahead since you asked that. One of our community partners, the FACE Center at Syracuse University, is partnering with us to do some PD in the fall on play-based developmentally appropriate practices. It's going to be a 3-part series throughout October, November, and December. So I can make sure that other folks know about that as well. As far as funding goes, our funding sources are the Universal Pre-K grant, which I talked to you about already a little bit, preschool special education, and we have funding from the federal government through Head Start, and then of course the ICSD general fund. And so I want to give you some more details about those funding sources. You're going to notice some good increases this year. So for preschool special education, we went from last year, $947,000 to a little over $1 million. Those are due to, in part to some state increases. We're looking into some other, I think next year we might even see it be a little bit higher as well, because we're looking into some rate increases that have remained pretty flat for the last few years. We get a tuition rate for our students who are in our SCIS classrooms. And I've inquired, and with Sydney's support as well, we're inquiring about possibly getting an increase with that. So we're hoping that that will increase next year. The Universal Pre-K grant is our biggest jump. We've had a nice partnership with the state this year, and they're really investing more into Universal Pre-K. So that went in from $839,000 to $1.2 million. So a nice jump there. Head Start is a federal grant, and that small increase there is a cost of living increase that we got this year. So, and then you can see with the general fund, these increases provided less cost to the local community while still being able to maintain our quality program. Any questions about that?
You general fund down.
Oh, yeah, it just, again, some things need to be said. The amount that we've spent on early childhood development from our general fund almost doubles or triples our neighbors. I mean, we have been, maybe across the state, last time we really looked into it. We have always been generous with funding our support for little people, because, as you said earlier, doesn't matter where they go, 0 to 2, 2 to 4, eventually 98% of them show up on our doorstep. So it's good to see a little relief.
Yeah.
One more electric bus. Who knows?
Pleasantly surprised this year. Yeah. Any other questions about that? Okay. So some of our priorities moving forward is continued community outreach and education. We don't have the numbers for this year, but I can tell you last year and the year before, about 60% of our evaluations came from community sites. So really sort of beefing up our support, our tier 1 supports for those community locations is a priority for us. And then continuing to prioritize helping our teachers with innovative tier 1 supports. Whether it's from COVID, I'm not sure, but we are getting a lot more children who are developmentally young in our program. And so making sure that our teachers have the materials and the knowledge to support students. And let's see, we want to continue our creating anti-racist early childhood spaces. We're going to be doing more with our book project. Many of our educators are working on book supplements to go along with the books that we have. And I would hope to continue working on the family engagement micro-credential as well. And then we're going to keep, surveying our teachers and asking what they need, asking what kind of professional development they need. Like I said, we'll be offering assessment PD around learning stories throughout the year, offering them opportunities to learn about the ruler program. And some teachers are using Launchpad, which is the preschool program for really great reading. And then, like I said, we're going to be collaborating with the FACE Center in Syracuse on learning through play and developmentally appropriate practices. So that is everything. And I had to include these great pictures at the end.
Those pictures are amazing.
Yeah, they're great pictures.
I'll just advocate for those who haven't had the chance yet. Please go visit the Fall Creek program in the summer. Any day, stop by. They're very welcoming. It's very cool.
It is a very cool.
At least as cool as Project Innovation.
It sure is, yeah. Well, thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thanks.
You could have dropped the mic because you are exactly on time. So
I have 30 seconds. Next finance meeting, June, I believe it's the June 20th, Tuesday, June 20th. Right, we would love to have food service. That's what's on the agenda. And it's not just sort of their daily operations and their budget, but also they have an incredible opportunity in collaboration with the Park Foundation regionally, and the Chef and Foundation. So I'm just going to leave that as a good thing. And it's going to be a really great meeting.
We get snacks.
I will make a note. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb.
Is that it?
all right, folks, we're good. Thank you.